Oh. Let's get that over there. All right. Very close to you on Instagram. Very close. You're welcome. We can. Just a little adjustment here. No. Okay. We'll leave it. We'll leave it at that. Let's leave it at that. Yeah, before you say anything, yeah, I have pink hair. So, for a few days anyway, or a week or so, I have pink hair. It's Friday. Time for some live office hours. And this little bit of stuff going on. I'm gonna just do a thing here. Be right back. That's right. Decided it might be a good plan to, I don't know, unplug the phone. That's a good plan. It's a good plan. And let's plug this in. Boop. And let's plug this in. Boop. All right. Let's do this. Let's do that. And let's do this. Hi. We're live for some there we go. Live for some Friday afternoon. Just afternoon. Friday, just afternoon. Office hours. With me, Strawberry Shortcake, your friend, Strawberry Shortcake. And my pink hair. I have a thing, so we're just at the end of, it's going to go probably over the weekend, but just at the end of the child voice practicum that I'm doing these past 2 weeks. And so many really interesting questions and so much great discussion and all that stuff. Oh, I'm Dr. Shannon Coates. I'm coming at you live. And so much great discussion, so many great things that has been happening. And one of the things, and this group is a real mix of folks who are experienced teachers who have been teaching for quite a while, and folks who've been working with children for quite a while, and folks who haven't really worked with children in like a voice teacher setting or in a studio setting, folks who have been in choirs, folks who who conduct choirs. So it's quite a mix of experiences and comfort level with teaching. So the questions have really been fantastic because the questions and discussion is kind of bridging this very wide gap of knowledge and information and experience. So really interesting. I love it. And one of the participants was talking about, how do I start, right? How do I start working with children, and what should I start with? What should they sing first? What exercises should I use? How should I, how should I transition from this to this? When should I introduce this kind of music? When should I introduce this kind of technique? How early is too early? Blah, blah, blah. Which are, terrific questions, right? And obviously in the group there's a lot of practical, we're doing a lot of practical suggestions and discussion around like, here are some practical things to consider, like here are the resources and here's some curriculum to consider and all that kind of thing. And part of that kind of questioning as well often comes from folks who have taught piano or who've come through piano or violin or one of the instruments that has real practical curriculum, right? So you've got the well, I don't even know if this is still a curriculum, but anyway, the Lila Fletcher series. I did that when I took piano lessons up here in Canada, so I don't know if that's even still a thing. I don't know. I haven't taught piano ever, so I don't know. But you know, we have these. The little Mozart, I think, was one of the ones that my kids did. You know, and we have these like curricula, various curriculums, curriculi, curriculili. We have these method books, right, for violin, piano, so many of those other instruments. We have these method books, and the method books tend to lead into sort of Western classical training, but those are out there, and so we know these method books. And so then, if we've been trained in that way, and then we come to teaching voice, often we're looking for that same kind of method book to teach voice. And part of that is because we think, okay, learning how to sing is really hard. And I want to start in the right place, and I want to do this right, and I want to do the right thing. And of course you do, right? And learning how to sing is really hard. And on one level, yes, that is super true. Learning how to sing is hard, not because it's hard, but because there's a complexity in the instrument, right? This instrument, the motor skills required, the coordination, of the motor skills required is very complex. It is very complex, absolutely. When we look at that, yes. So there is a complexity there. There is a challenge in terms of complexity and coordination. So on that one hand, yes, that is absolutely true, that it is hard to learn how to sing. And part of that comes too from, I'll never forget being in a group where my own children, in a situation where my own children, when they were young, were doing theory exams. So they did a theory exam through the Royal Conservatory of Music, which is a conservatory system here in Canada, also available in the States too, and other places have conservatory systems. But so it's a system where you have levels of theory that accompany the levels of the practical and technical skills that you're doing. So level 1, technical skills, also has, and repertoire and theory, also has a theory component at level 1. So if you do your level 1 practical exam where you go and play the piano, then you can also do your level 1 theory exam where you go and write out all the stuff, and then you progress to level 2 and 3 and 4, etc. So I'll never forget being in a room where there were folks from ages, 6, 7 to in their teens, and possibly some adults too. I don't remember the adults, but writing theory exams of all different levels. And one of the parents saying to me something like, I can't remember what it was, but something like, my 10-year-old is doing level 7 theory or something along those lines, like some very high level of theory compared to sort of where you would be at that age level. And here's the thing. When you are learning to play the piano, the instrument is already there. It's already fully developed. It comes fully developed and in the shape that it is going to be for the rest of its life. Obviously little tweaks, but overall, that's the instrument, that's the way it's going to be. Same with the guitar, same with the violin, same with every other instrument on the planet except for this one. So when we're learning piano, we can be a phenom, we can learn, I can play piano, and at a young age, I can get the coordination required to play piano at a young age compared to, good morning, Children's Voice Studio, compared to the coordination that's required compared to the age that we can get that same level of coordination in this instrument. Why? Because this instrument, we're literally growing it or building it as we're learning to play it. Like it's that old, like, you know, building the airplane while I'm flying it analogy, right? I'm literally, this instrument, not only am I learning how to coordinate it, but it's changing every single day. And when I'm starting as a child, it's changing. So as a child, right, it is cool. It is cool. It's one of the things that makes us very cool as singers, I think. So as a child, when I'm taking, say, level 2, when I'm 10 years old, I might be taking, say, level 4 practical exam for singing, or level 3 practical exam for singing, and thus I am writing level 3 theory. But I might, as a child, as a 10-year-old, I might be doing level 8 piano, or 7, right? I might be several levels ahead. Why? Because the instrument is not being built while I'm learning to play it. It's already built. It's already there. It's all good. All I have to do is figure out my own coordination while I'm playing it, right? That's what I have to figure out. So, I mean, there's lots more to that, but so those two factors, right? We've got the factor that this instrument is, we're learning to, especially when we're learning as children and adolescents, we're learning to play the instrument at the same time as it's being built. So we're building it and we're learning how to play it at the same time. And then the second thing, so I want to just make sure, yes. So that is challenging, right? That is a challenge. And then the other thing that comes into this where we think about, and also, of course, there is a lot of coordination that has to go into, a lot of motor coordination required to sing well and to be a well-trained singer. There are those two things. And then there's this third aspect. So this third aspect that comes into becoming a well-trained singer, and something that feeds into our idea that it's hard to learn how to sing. It's hard to learn how to sing. So this third aspect that feeds into this idea is that when we have had Western classical training, it takes a very, very, very long time to figure out the very specific coordination that's required for the tonal outcomes to be a Western classical singer. To essentially to be able to be heard on amplified, sing it with a very how should we say, a specific tonal outcome throughout our entire range on every single vowel, learn other languages, all of those kinds of things. So all of the things that are required to create this very specific coordination for this very specific tonal outcome in this art form, which I love, it takes a long time to figure that out. And it takes an adult body to do. So we, as Western classically trained singers, we come into teaching children to sing, and we have in the back of our heads a couple of things. It took me a really long time to figure out how to sing well, right? It took me a really long time to figure out this coordination. And there's no like it's not like piano where my instrument is already made. So I have to, not only do I have to like learn the coordination for this thing, but I also have I'm also building the instrument. So we come into teaching children then with this kind of background in our head. And that can almost, it can lead to this false idea that teaching singing and learning how to sing is hard, or it takes a long time. It's hard. And so then where's my curriculum? Where's my syllabus? Where's my methodology book? Because I'm going to need like a methodology book that's going to take me for like 15 years, and I've got to start in the right place, and it's going to be a long time. And we come into this, and that's not necessarily wrong. It's not necessarily wrong. It can take a long time. And there are all of these multiple things going on with the instrument, of course. And of course we can we can, if we're not, intentional and if we're not, working from an open heart and staying creative and staying, inquisitive, of course we can, there can be damage inflicted in when we're teaching. Of course there can be. That is part of the process in some ways, right? Like that is part of this system, is that it is not infallible. It is fallible. And we as humans, right? But the whole point of what I'm trying to say today is learning to sing actually isn't that hard. It really just isn't. And there's no wrong place to start. There's almost no wrong place to start. Almost no wrong place to start. So it's really not that hard, especially when we're teaching children. Why is it not that hard? Because, or why do we think it's hard? Because we come in and we're teaching children and we're thinking, oh my gosh, I had to learn how to release my tongue tension. I had to learn how to create a pure O vowel. I had to learn how to, have that ping in my sound through my whole register. I had to learn Italian. I had to learn blah, blah, blah. And this is of course coming from my Western classical training, right? And also I had to get a master's degree. My undergraduate degree wasn't enough. I had to go get a master's degree or whatever. And I had to study for 25 years and in order to learn all of this stuff. So we bring this with us. We bring this idea that learning to sing is hard and it takes a long time. We bring that with us into the voice studio when we're teaching. And we filter teaching children through this idea of how hard it is to learn to sing. It's so hard to learn to sing. It took me I had to get 3 degrees and I had to study for 15 years and I had to blah, 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 right? I had to learn how to master mix and I had to, blah, blah, blah. Friends, when you're teaching children, especially when you're teaching children, learning to sing is not about that. It's not about that. It's about finding joy in expression. It's about exploring. It's about creativity. It's about joy. I already said joy, but it's so important. It's about finding a voice. It's about helping children have agency and start to know who they are and to start to have choices in their lives and providing spaces where children get to make fun, have a fun place where they can make choices and there aren't any wrong answers, so they can start to develop their own love of music and singing, and they can have a place where they have someone who is completely focused on them for a half an hour or 45 minutes or an hour, however long your lessons are every week, or in choir or whatever. It's about having this space where children explore and where we as the teachers are, birthing is so the wrong word, that's not the word I'm looking for here, but where we are coming alongside on this exploration journey. And yes, we have the final product in mind. Of course we do. Of course we have the final, we have the ultimate coordination stuff in mind. Of course we do. But with children, we're not looking, I don't want them to sound like adults, of course. I don't need them to have mix. I don't need, specifically well-coordinated mix throughout their whole range. I don't need them to have that, or, in specific parts of their range or whatever. I don't necessarily need them to have pure vowels. I don't need them to have any of those things. I want them to learn how to have fun in exploring their voice, right? And to have a place where there's no wrong answer. And so you come in and you're yelling rather than singing. That's amazing. I love your intensity. I love your energy. I love how much you have to say. I love that you gotta say it loud and proud. That's awesome. And now let's see whether we can find a way to say the same thing with a little less intensity. If they have no head voice, If all they have is head voice, that's amazing. I love how you're working with your head voice, or I love how you're not working, or you're only working in this part of your voice. That's amazing. Let's see if we can find a way to strengthen that so you've got more choices of how you get to say stuff. I was a little bit heartbroken in our practicum, because there is a teacher there who is just about to like break into teaching children, giving them choices, right? She's just about to break into teaching children. And I love that she took the practicum, because she's like, I want to know more, and I want to understand, and I want to go into this, like, knowing what to do. And I love that. And at the same time, the thing that is holding her back, or one of the things that's holding her back, is that she has this idea that teaching singing is hard, and that working with children is hard, because what if I make a mistake, or what if what if we don't, like, and you know what that is? That, for her anyway, was her training telling her that singing is hard. That was her training. That is her training, saying to her, singing is hard. And so then she's taking that into lessons, and into starting to teach voice lessons with young children, and thinking, but singing is hard. No, it's not. That's a lie. It's not true. It's just not true. And it's especially not true when we're working with children. Singing is exploration, and singing lessons is joy, and finding ways to have a voice, and finding ways to work toward that future coordination, right? That's what it is. Why is singing hard? It's not hard. I mean, it gets hard. It can get hard. And of course, I mean, I'm not saying that there isn't work to be done. I'm not saying that. But I really, if you are someone who has been thinking about teaching, and especially been thinking about teaching children, and you've been held back because you're afraid that singing is too hard, or that you're not going to be able to do right by your students. First of all, if you think you may not be able to do right by your students, you're probably going to be a great teacher, because you're going to be thinking, you're always going to be looking for ways to do right by your students. So for me, that's a great indicator that you're going to be a great teacher. And so find something like the Full Voice. I mean, of course, I talk about the Full Voice all the time, but find something like the Full Voice. Go look at their terrific free resources. Get the teacher manual. Do something with me if you want. Do something with, or go, observe voice lessons with another teacher who is, who loves working with children. Observe that, and just take that, that cloak, or whatever that thing is that's on your back that's telling you that you can't teach children voice lessons, even though you want to. Look, if you don't want to teach children voice lessons, that's fine. I'm not telling anybody to do it if they don't want to. But if you want to teach voice lessons to children, especially to children, and if there's that thing on your back that's telling you, but it's too hard, singing is so serious and so hard, and like, how am I going to be able to get them to do their head voice, or how am I going to be able to get them to do mixed voice, and how am I going to get them to be able to do pure vowels, or blah blah blah. How do you get children to do anything? You don't get them to do anything by telling them to do the thing, right? You get them to do things by exploration and fun, and finding voices, and getting choices, giving choices. Having lots of space to make a choice. I hope that my intention in saying this is clear, that my intention is that I'm not saying, everybody go teach children to sing. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying if you want to teach children to sing, and you want to have children in your voice studio, and the thing that is holding you back is that you feel like you're not going to be able to have like a serious studio because you might not be good enough and it also took you a long time to learn how to sing. Just like cut that off. Just like don't believe it. Don't believe it. Go in to have fun with children. Can do it. That's all. Like I said, get some resources for sure. But get in there. Oh, Instagram just literally turned off on my phone. That's amazing. Amazing. All right. Have a great weekend. Consider for yourself what your training told you about how hard it is to learn or to teach singing. Just consider for yourself. Just think about that for a little bit over the weekend if you're inclined. What did your training, especially if you have Western classical training, what did your training in that very specific genre and style, what did your training tell you about how hard it is to learn to sing, or what you have to have in place before you can be a good singer, or what it means to be a well-trained singer? Take some time to think about that if you're so inclined. What did your especially Western classical training tell you about how lessons should be, about how learning should be? What kind of shoulds did you get from your Western classical training that are maybe holding you back a little bit now? Good times. All right. Have a great weekend. I'll talk to you later.